We are continuing, the microphone's back on. We are continuing our discussions with different sectors around how to implement the various solutions that we've been talking about over the last 2.5 days. So we're now going to have a session where we're meeting with corporate Saudi Arabia, and getting an understanding from them about how they see this sustainable food security issue, how they are interacting with it, and then we will have some questions like we've had with the previous panels. So if I could please invite to the stage Dr. Rashed Al-Arfaj, Vice President for Health, Security and Standards Control at Saudi Airlines Catering. Mr. Sadek Al-Ramadan is the Chairman of Al-Yaseen Agricultural Company, and Mr. Richard Salisbury from Mirai, Executive Vice President, Quality and Regulatory, HSS and Sustainability, and Engineer Ahmad Alballaa, Managing Director of Naqwa. If you could all please join me on the stage, and we'll begin. Thank you so much for joining us on the stage for this discussion. Just like in the previous sessions, what I would like you to do is start with a 2 or 3 minute brief presentation about your organisation and the role that you think your organisation plays in sustainable food security. And perhaps we will start with Dr. Rashed. If you could perhaps give us an initial presentation on how you think your organisation engages with sustainable food security.
Sure. Thanks, Paul. And allow me, please, first to thank KAUST for hosting this great event. And I would like to extend my thanks to Prof. Rod and his team for the organization of that event. Well, here in Saudi Airlines Catering Company, let me give you a brief about the company, established in 1981. At the beginning, the major focus was in-flight catering. The first, let's say, production unit was established in Jeddah, 1981. 2 years later, we established Riyadh unit, and then followed up by Cairo, Dammam, Medina, and Neom in 2018. After the establishment of Saudi Airlines Catering Company in 1981, we expanded our scope to cover non-airline services. So I believe most people, they thought that Saudi Catering Company only provide catering for in-flight catering. This is not the right way. We provide catering for more than 100 remote sites around Saudi Arabia. We provide catering for healthcare in hospitals. We provide catering for Hajj and Umrah as well, also in the railways as well. We also have another business like laundry. So we have a full automated laundry establishment here in Cake, where we provide services for hotels, companies, and etc. That's a brief about Saudi Airlines Catering Company. Our, let's say, revenue at almost 2.2 billion Saudi riyal per year. And we spent for purchased goods per year 1 billion Saudi riyal. And imagine all these numbers, how this could contribute to the sustainable food security in Saudi Arabia. In 2019, we provided a catering for more than 109 airlines with more than 40.5 million meals for more than 217 flights. This is just, I wanted to share with you the figures and then how can we contribute to the food security in Saudi Arabia. That can be done first by applying a food waste management system. We all know that reducing the food waste has an impact on the food security. And this is our plan for the near future, to have partnership with some private sector like Edama here in KAUST, The other point also to partnership with the local, let's say, suppliers, either in fishery, in livestock, and fruits and vegetables. This, let's say, local partnership will help to make sure we have a sustainable food security system in Saudi Arabia. The third point, which we also think that could help, is the automation in our production units, because this will reduce the number of waste. Actually, the issue what we have in our, let's say, waste part, we have over-plating because we use a manual plating. We have overproduction, and this is being done to make sure that we are ready, for example, if there is any, let's say, sudden increase of the passenger for the flights. And also we have over catering, because sometimes at the last minute, we have a drop list of passengers. So these three, let's say, waste streams, we are trying to handle it by better, let's say, predictive supply chain, and also automation. So that's a brief introduction about SAC.
Thank you so much. Very interesting. Richard Salisbury,
Hello.
Tell us about your organisation and how you think you're engaging with this issue around sustainable food security.
Hello. Thanks first of all to the CDA and Rebecca for the invitation. So just a little bit about Al-Mirai for those of you that don't know. We are the leading, our mission is to be the leading food and beverage business in the Middle East. 38,000 employees. We operate a manufacturing base primarily in Saudi Arabia. Farming has been offshored to the United States and Argentina, and a sales and distribution and logistics network which goes right across the GCC as far as Sakaka in the south of Oman. We started 44 years ago as primarily a dairy business, and I suppose the first thing in terms of what have we done, what we'll go on to talk about what are we going to continue to do, is we've diversified that business away from primarily a dairy business, and we've added in the last 12 years a bakery business, an infant formula business, and the acquisition of Hadco, which is the Al-Yaseen poultry brand. So we've grown, and we are continuing to grow into different categories and products, and contribute to the food security of primarily Saudi Arabia, but also the region. If you look at 2021, we produced 4.4 billion pieces of product. Now that could be a bottle of laban, or it could be a chicken or a loaf of bread, and that means every day we have 12 million moments of truth. One of the things I look after is quality, and so there's 12 million people just like you every day that are consuming one of our products, and we've got to get it right 12 million times today, and 12 million times tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day. What we do is we're very operational. I'll come on to talk about innovation and adopting innovation, but we're very operational. We've got to get the food on that table out there, and wherever you are tonight, we've got to get food to you, or to the retail there tonight. So picking up on some of the comments earlier this morning, COVID has been very interesting from a supply chain risk. That's what we do, is we manage risk into, if you like, opportunity, or we continue to keep the food on the shelf. Currently, the world is grappling with supply chain issues, energy costs, shipping costs, and we're trying our hardest to mitigate that. Ukraine is going to have an issue, cause a further issue in terms of energy, fertilizer, cereal prices. And the model today, and I've heard some great stuff over the last 2 days around the new innovation in terms of sources of protein, but the model today is primarily for animal feed, cereal production, and that's what we feed our 190,000 cows 4 times a day, every day, and we process on average 650,000 chickens a day, and at the moment we're feeding them. So very much what we keep busy doing is managing that risk and keeping the trucks moving. 3 years ago, we started a sustainability journey. I was tasked with setting that up. And for us, sustainability is about ESG. I suppose this is the environment part, but we also focus on social and governance. But primarily the agenda here the last few days has been around the environment. We developed a clear sustainability strategy a couple of years ago, which is based on 3 pillars: people, product, and planet. That goes into 12 material issues. What are the material issues that are important to our stakeholders? And that's government, that's consumers, academia, and our customers and the rest of our consumers. And we've committed to 25 targets. So for water, we've committed to 15% water efficiency by 2025, 15% on energy efficiency, and a 50% reduction in waste to landfill. And we're doing pretty well. Other actions within there, mentioned this morning around the Saudi gap, but we're also looking at animal welfare and so on. So very much operational, but looking and interested in the innovation to make our business more sustainable and more efficient.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's fascinating, and there's some big numbers there as well. Mr. Sadek, please give us an introduction to your business and how you're engaging with sustainable food security. It's already on.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. We have learned really a lot attending an event like this one. About our company, it's a 42-year-old company. It's working in the agriculture input marketing, and we are talking about here seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, equipment, and so on. Currently, we do have 11 branches spread over Saudi Arabia. Basically, we cover all agriculture areas. We have 45 agronomists in the field. And all of this together, if we look, they contribute to the sustainability of the agriculture. We have introduced many technologies and concepts to the market. For example, IPM. We have it, for example, the potato, the first container imported by a private company was done by our company. This was about 25 years ago. What we do basically as examples to the sustainability is that we start from the market, we see the challenges, we look into the world for solutions, we locate solutions, and we test them here in Saudi Arabia, whether in our dedicated trial station or we do also a lot of tests in the farms with the farmers in different areas, especially, for example, for seeds. They are environmentally related to be successful or not, so we test them everywhere. Pesticides and fertilizers and equipments, basically we do the same. Also for our suppliers, we give them good information about our market so they can look into their product portfolio, either for things that are good for Saudi Arabia, or sometimes really they do developments to bring them to Saudi Arabia. We also do information transfer. With the products that we bring, we teach the farmers how to use them, how to benefit from them, and how to either maximize their production or reduce the problems that they have with diseases, for example. teaching of the farmers also extend that we do have 11 branches. We have 45 agronomists. So the agronomists learn from the problems in different areas. So if there is a problem and there is a solution in one area, the rest of our agronomists will learn about it, and they can teach also the farmers how to resolve issues that are new. Sometimes we have, throughout these ages that we have worked in the market, many diseases came. And then if a solution comes in one area, then we try to really move the information about how to resolve issues to different areas. So our agronomists are learning, and the learning is really moved to the farmers. I mean, there are also many examples, but these are some of the examples that show how companies like ours really can contribute to the sustainability of agriculture in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you so much. And finally, if we can have Mr. Engineer Ahmad. Engineer Ahmad.
Thank you. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me this chance to talk about Nagwa. Nagwa is the largest aquaculture company in Saudi Arabia. Probably we are about 80% of the industry, and we are mainly producing fish and shrimp. The company is about 200 square kilometers with 5,000 staff, and we are 50% local consumption and 50% export. So we are also zero freshwater usage company. So we produce food without using fresh water, and we use arid land, which is by the sea. We have 60-kilometer coastal line, so we are the largest project in the world, and we have a strong relation with KAUST and Meerai towards sustainability of food supply. We are exploring algae, we're exploring many species of fishes, and we are also trying to basically to do aquasaline plantation. So we are in that field, in the zero usage of fresh water, and trying to basically utilize the competent advantage of Saudi Arabia, the desert, the land, the sea, the cheap energy, the clean environment, and highly relies in the Red Sea as a treasure of Saudi Arabia. Red Sea is really a fragile sea. We are trying to do sustainable aquaculture, sustainable production. We have to worry about the environment. We have to worry about production. So in a way that we feel proud of what we do. We are 40 years also in aquaculture, and we contribute, hopefully, to also change the consumption behavior of Saudi Arabia. You know, we are red meat eater, we are chicken eaters, and this is not up to the international standards. So we want to boost the seafood consumption for various reasons, and especially it does not need fresh water, so hopefully we will contribute to this line. So this is in short, Nagwa.
Thank you so much. I've got a question that anyone can start answering, but I'd like you all to answer it. I've asked this of a few other panels as well, and that is, do you have access to the skilled labour that you need to be able to achieve your objectives? So do you have, have you got enough supply of skilled people on a farm or in aquaculture or in your business, catering? Do you have access to the people who can help push the company towards even more sustainable food security? So who would like to start? Yes, please.
We have to employ about 35% of Saudis in our company. On the management side, there is no issue, but on the agriculture technical side, there is an issue. The skilled Saudi agronomists are quite rare and difficult really to find. So always we take fresh graduates and we have to train them, but also when we train them, we lose them. And the biggest employer that really takes our employees is Meerai. And they ask us to employ, but when we train them, they take them. Yeah. But it is really an issue to have. On the management side, there is no issue really, but on the technical side, agriculture technical side, there is, I think, a big issue on the knowledge and training and development in Saudi Arabia. And also even further, that the continuous development, continuous knowledge. The company itself has to do all of this.
Yes.
And usually the knowledge is limited to the company itself. It's not wider.
Yeah.
So it is a challenge, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd agree with a few of those points there. We invested several years ago in a dairy and food polytechnic. So that's one of the ways in which you mitigate. So it is a challenge. Turnover is a challenge. You know, if you're looking at say 12.5% turnover, or if you know, worst case maybe within some of the industry, you might be looking at 25% turnover.
Yeah.
So if you've got 25% turnover, every 4 years you've got a new workforce. And in terms of competency and training, I suppose what we all do is we spend an awful lot of time over-indexing on that because the turnover is relatively high. But I think generally the answer is yes, we all do it, but we probably spend too much time managing that sort of that part of our business.
Thank you. Engineer Ahmad, for the fishing industry, aquaculture industry.
This is really, I would like to say it's the challenge, but it's also responsibility. For us, it is a no choice responsibility. We are in a remote area. Luckily, alhamdulillah, we don't have that high turnover because most of the employees from the locals, from Al-Leith and Al-Qunfuda, which is they have less opportunity than people in major cities. So we don't have high turnover, but we do have really constraint in getting the right mindset, I would say, the mindset.
Right.
But we had contributed, alhamdulillah, now the company has more than 700 people, ladies, male and female, working for the company. So we will continue working in that, and hopefully we'll increase our target 50%, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, in catering company, well, we have this challenge in, let's say, in specific areas. You know, for example, senior chefs. We here in Saudi Arabia, we don't have, let's say, the skilled senior chefs at this time. So this is why we now, let's say, count on the expat more than Saudis. What we have done recently to overcome this issue, we just have established a culinary academy within our company, so that the knowledge can be transferred to the junior, let's say, generation, so that we can keep the knowledge and the experts within our company.
Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. I'm going to shift tack a little bit and ask, so you've all, I think, presented some very laudable objectives and programs around sustainable food security. It would be interesting to know if we're going to make this more common across corporate Saudi Arabia. What incentivized you to take on sustainable food security as an issue in your company? What was it a branding incentive? Was it a cost incentive? Was it government policy? What was the reason that this became an important issue inside your organization? Anyone may start.
Well, from our side, actually, I will be honest with you, the cost is an issue, for sure. Yes, cost is an issue for sure, because, you know, applying a robust sustainability system, either in food or in energy, will save money for company. Again, it's, let's say, also a commitment to the environment from our side. I believe every one of us here has a commitment to maintain a good environment for the next generation. These two factors, I believe, was although there are some governmental, you know, requirements, and even right now, not only from government, even between business, between companies, some investor, they are now trying to, they asked us to apply ESG measures, for example. There's
a government standard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, agree with everything you said. There is the way I would have answered the question is around risk and opportunity. So if you want Al-Mirai or your company to be around in the future, you have to do the right thing. We believe in our slogan, which is being better every day, and that's about the future sustainability of our organization. So you've got no choice. Cost is a driver, but in effect, you're managing risk, or you're predicting tomorrow's risk, and you're managing that, and you're turning it into an opportunity for yourself. So energy, energy will go up. Water is scarce, and a true cost of water will come through. Food waste has to reduce. You can't get away from those basic facts. So, but I think it comes to start with about believing in it. It is coming. Yes, I think so Meerai, Ministry of Industry, Ministry of Energy, and the government is playing a part in that. I think we have a part to play as well, but you don't really have any choice.
Right.
If you want to be around in the future, then get on the bus today. And I look at it personally as well. It's not about me as the guy from Al-Mirai. I personally believe that as well. So, when I go shopping, I take my own bags.
Yeah.
I try to avoid single-use plastics. I believe it at work, and we all believe it at work, and I believe it personally as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
We are a bit different here because everybody's basically, except Rashed, is doing industrial also product. We are doing an industrial product. We are selling to the industry, and then the industry really benefit if what we do is good.
Yeah.
So sustainability is very clear in the country. Always has been clear. It's less clear in the 80s. Abundance of money is given to the farmers.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they have to be profitable.
Right.
We have to help them to be profitable, and this will make them sustainable. And then we will exist only if they are profitable. So sustainability, I agree here, it's a must for everybody really to work on. It's not only the problem of the government, it's the problem of everybody nowadays.
Yeah, thank you. Engineer Ahmad.
Thank you. I think we are a little different. We are aquaculture and a very small industry.
Yeah.
And I think Meerai and the government is very proactive in managing the industry. Yeah?
Right.
To be sustainable in the long term, I think we need to worry about two things. One is the environment. We are very much interrelated with the Red Sea, and the intake and the offtake of our water for the Red Sea need to be managed very well. And alhamdulillah, there is enough regularity and enough system to somehow adhere to these things. But I think the biggest challenge for us is the per capita consumption in Saudi Arabia. We are not fish eater.
Yeah.
We are not fish eater. We are meat eater, chicken eater. And in order for this industry to flourish, the government have to do, and we have to work together to basically change the behavior of consumption. Internationally, by World Health Organization, 2 meals per week seafood is a must. In Saudi, we are very far away from that. We are almost half the international average. So for a company like Nagwa or the industry to flourish in Saudi Arabia, environment and local content and local need to be very well addressed. And I think companies like Saudi Catering and Al-Mirai, which basically have very strong distribution and access to the market, they also need to contribute to this task, because really, the only food that produced without seawater in a desert country in Saudi Arabia has certain privilege.
Sure.
It is not like any. So we really need to work closer to the market, closer to big player like our colleagues in the panel.
Thank you. Are there any major impediments, other than the ones we've talked about around labour and skills? Are there any major impediments that you see in terms of being able to achieve objectives in sustainable food security in your businesses? Perhaps starting with fishing first, or aquaculture first, and then we'll move back.
There are definitely, this is a new industry. And I think also, again, I must, compliment Meerai, KAUST, they are contributing this, innovation, R&D, yeah? In aquaculture, especially fish, not every species is the same, So when you talk of chicken, for example, oh, the chicken in the world is too strained, basically. And the chicken doesn't know it is in Netherlands or in Brazil or Saudi Arabia, it is in a house. But when you talk about fish, every fish is a word by itself. Huh? And that word is different from hatchery, from egg, from broodstock, from consumption, from cooking, from preparation, manufacture. So in order to basically to achieve that diversity in fish, you need really science. You need KAUST. You need university in Saudi Arabia. You need research. You need applied research. Huh? This is in terms of production. But also when you talk of feed and raw material input, huh? Algae, for example, is a very promising new line of business. Huh? We have nothing in that. Now KAUST, alhamdulillah, luckily they start to put it as one of their, I would say, focus area. Now there is a department and there are people working, trying to find out the right species, either micro or macro, to basically help in that. So I think in our area is really R&D, applied research, focusing in solving these bottlenecks in every species would be very much needed to make the business more sustainable and diversified as well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sadek.
I'll talk now about the farmers, really, who are our
Thank
customers. And now the country is going through two things for food security, local production and importation. And local production now is under a big challenge of so much changes, including increased cost, availability of labor, the laws of the government to really manage the water. So a lot of changes is happening to the agriculture sector. And the farmers are suffering now. The farmers are basically investors. They put money, they put their time, they do the business to make profits. I think with all the studies that have been happening and talks that are happening even here, the profitability of the farmer hasn't been talked about. And this is, I think, a very critical issue if we are looking at local production. I think this is the biggest challenge for the local production. Of course, it will affect a company like ours, but in general, if the economy is looking for local production, they have also to look the changes that are happening, what is the effect on the profitability of the farmer, and if this is not considered, this could be a big problem.
Thank you. Richard.
I think the good news is an example of that would be KAUST. We've been supporting one of the e-poster projects out there for nearly 3 years, looking at generating value added from our food waste. We met the guys in the environmental science department this morning, and so the great news is there's innovation and there's real examples of things coming through. As Al-Mirai, in terms of our vertical integration, we invested because we had to very large into forage alfalfa production in the US and Argentina, and primarily most of the cereals we feed the animals come from abroad because of water policy, I suppose. The bit I'm not going to be clear about yet is what's going to happen with CO2. So we might have, and I suppose my selfish thing is I can't just operate in the discussion around Saudi Arabia. We're growing, we have 450 employees and we're growing product in Arizona and Argentina. So I've got a global responsibility and I have to manage that. Saudi Arabia is committed to net zero by 2060. So in terms of, and I think this was talked about yesterday, we cannot, in the short, medium term, be 100% self-sufficient in terms of Saudi Arabia. So there's going to be a blend of hybrid, offshore, maybe local assembly production. How do we manage our way through that? with future government policy on water and energy and, you know, and exporting product. So good news and some fog, I think, is the way I'd sort of summarize it.
Thank you very much. Dr.
Yeah,
Rashed.
from our sides, I will focus on two things. In-flight catering industries is a complex operating model. We are in operation 24/7, so no time for improvement or development. So here we need to have a good partnership with the universities and other entities for development. The second challenge is customer, I would say, perception and behavior. And in this matter, I will give two examples. The first example, let's say, the experience of Saudi Arabia government by using a frozen meal in Hajj season. And there are some resistance, right, up to now about using frozen meals in Hajj season. So this is a challenge. The second challenge for customer behavior in catering or in-flight catering is let's say, the passenger meal choices. Although there is an option so everyone can choose his meal, but believe me, just very few people, they do so. So we are just counting on the forecasting of the Saudi Airlines to provide the meals on the flight. So you imagine the challenge that if the passenger didn't like what we have provided, so we will have waste again. So customer perception and behavior, I believe, a second challenge for us.
Okay, well, look, that's been a fascinating insight into how corporate Saudi Arabia is addressing this issue of sustainable food security. I think you'll join me in thanking these fantastic guests for their contribution today. Very impressive, all of your businesses and what you're trying to do, and thank you for coming and sharing that with our audience. Thank you. Thank you. So we have had government organisations talk to us about how they are addressing these issues. We had some really passionate conversations and presentations earlier this morning around how government agencies are very committed to these issues of sustainable food security. Indeed, also with the Giga projects, they all see themselves as being beacons of best practice in terms of sustainable food security, ensuring less waste, and promoting these ideals. And then we can see that some of these very impressive corporations in Saudi Arabia are also very committed. Their staff are both personally committed, and the corporation themselves are committed to the ideals of reducing waste, becoming more efficient, and ensuring more secure supply chains. So it's good news, I guess, and we've got this whole ecosystem of organisations who are joining together, cooperating with each other to improve sustainable food security for Saudi Arabia. The final group that we're going to talk to today is the startups, the innovators, the people who are starting on the front foot, saying the reason we exist is to solve some of these challenges around sustainable food security. And we have an amazing mix of speakers who I will ask to come up onto the stage now. So Dr. Maged Saad, Senior Research Scientist in the Centre for Desert Agriculture at KAUST, also the Team Coordinator for Darwin 21 in KAUST, Dr. Ryan Lefers, who is the co-founder and CEO of Red Sea Farms, that we've heard a lot about throughout this conference, Dr. Mitch Morton, who is the CTO and co-founder of Edama Organic Solutions, and Dr. Michael Salvador is the technical lead and co-founder of Mirai Solar. So thank you all for joining us on the stage. It's fantastic to have you here. Again, like we've done with the previous panel sessions, what I would like you to do is to start off with just a brief presentation from you on what your organisation is and how, in particular, it is interested in the sustainable food security issue here in Saudi Arabia. So perhaps we could start with Dr. Majed, if you can give us a brief presentation, brief summary. Okay. Please use the microphone. Okay. The microphone is on.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First, I would like to thank the organizer, KAUST, CDA, for giving me this opportunity. As you see in my name, I have two hats, a senior scientist in research, and also starting the journey of the GrowBioM. It's an agriculture biotech company, and trying to help farmer to increase the profits first in a sustainable and eco-friendly way. I think it's clear that the power of the basic research showing days and days at how can we translate the basic research to an application. And in Darwin 21, in research in CDA conducted over the last 8 years, we managed to move from a lab to an application under the name of the GrowBioM. Environmental stresses, heat wave, drought, salinity, really affecting the agricultural productivity. And it's clear for everyone the loss we have, the farmer, government, billions of dollars every year. Water crises are affecting all the MENA region. Not to say increasing of the price of the fertilizer, increasing the add of the chemical pesticide in the soil, making all problematic for us as a human. Government, they are putting money, as well as looking for more sustainable solution. Indeed, there is a lot of sustainable solution available in the market. But today I'm coming with a tiny, small solution. It is microbes. It's what we call it in science now. We call it biological. They call it biological biostimulants. And they are a group of microbes. They are isolated from plants. And they are living in a very beneficial way for the plant. They help the plant to access nutrients from soil. They help the plant to grow and mitigate different stress conditions like heat, salinity, drought. Also, they help the plant to be strong and vigor and to defend the diseases, the infections as well. And however, there is a big challenge for this microbe to function. They need to be adapted to the local environment. And this is one more point. It is our power in CDA, in the desert, in the GrowBioM as well, that we already isolate our microbe from the desert plant locally in Saudi Arabia and adapt it to the condition in Saudi Arabia. We manufacture, isolate, and find the best microbial community to help the plant to grow under the stress condition, manufacture here in Saudi Arabia, and they are ready to go for the market. We have produced this one in a highly concentrated powder form to save in transportation, storage, sustainable way. As well as this product have a really high impact. I would like to stress about profitability. As the last panel, Dr. Sadek said that the profit, it is very important to drive the sustainability. Without profitability, there would not be sustainability. So the product we are providing now for GrowBioM, it's an eco-friendly, which means reducing the amount of pesticide added for agriculture by 20%, a sustainable, helping farmers to save in the water for the irrigation by 30%, as well as it is sustainable, as I mentioned, and it is one of the few products in the market that help to mitigate different stress conditions, heat and salinity and drought. And all this one is done in Saudi Arabia from research and best example for translation, the basic research to application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ryan.
Okay, well, thanks for this opportunity. So I'm Ryan Lefers. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Red Sea Farms. Some of you have had the opportunity to visit our R&D facility here on the KAUST campus. Some of you also had the opportunity to try some of our produce, which is available out in the lobby here. So anyway, where do I start? So I guess personally, so I grew up on a farm in the US, so farming is in my blood. It's been in my family for many generations. And when I came to Saudi Arabia, it was really around this opportunity to look at how are we going to, I guess, try to feed the world in light of a changing climate and in a harsh climate. And so in Red Sea Farms, our vision is to help feed the world sustainably. And we're doing that in 3 specific ways, and these are our 3 general business lines. So one is the fresh produce, which you've seen. We do have a fresh produce line here in Saudi Arabia, so you can find that at certain supermarkets, and that produce line is growing. And so I hope you've had the opportunity to try that, and I hope you like it. The other way that we do this is around technologies, water and energy efficient technologies for controlled environments. So some of you may have seen, I was on the panel yesterday for controlled environment agriculture. So we have a few different buckets of technology. So one is the cooling systems, so utilizing salt water or liquid desiccants for humidity control. And so those are technologies that have spun out of KAUST and spun out of some of the research here, and we're using those in the controlled environments. The other piece is around actually utilizing solar in the best possible way. So some of that is just around blocking the parts of the solar spectrum that aren't useful or are in fact harmful, which is the heat. That's about 50% of the solar spectrum. So we have some films that block that heat as well as turn that into electrical energy. So those are all integrated into that system. And then the last sort of bucket of technology is around the plant science. And so we've, and this isn't my work, but Professor Mark Tester and his group and some of the team that we have in the greenhouse are really focusing around the rootstocks and making those, especially for tomatoes, salt tolerant. So we're active now, not just in Saudi Arabia, but we have a big trial in Egypt where we're doing some things there, looking at 40% of the soils now in Egypt are salt affected, 2 billion tomatoes planted there every year. If we can make a contribution to that, that'll greatly not only improve the bottom line of the farmers, because they're getting more for those same inputs, but also contribute to food security. And that's not just Egypt, Central Valley of California. So we've recently opened up operations in the US. I'm now based primarily in Arizona. But if we look at the Central Valley of California, 1.2 billion tomatoes planted a year. Then you look south into Mexico, and 90% of the tomatoes eaten in the United States come from Mexico. It's a giant tomato producer. So those are the 3 broad buckets of sort of business that we do: fresh produce, controlled environment technology, and the plant science. And it's really focused around that common goal of trying to feed the world sustainably. So that's Red Sea Farms.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mitch.
Okay, yeah. So thanks for inviting me here today. I'm a master's and PhD graduate from the CDA, so it's a real pleasure to have been invited to contribute to the discussion today. But I'm here today as a CTO and a co-founder of Edama Organic Solutions. We're a company who specialize in designing, building, and operating large-scale organic waste recycling facilities, compost facilities. And we stand out from other composting companies in that we really focus on delivering a very high-value, high-quality product, which is a compost and compost-derived products for the amelioration, the improvement of local soils, in particular for applications in desert agriculture, land restoration projects, and afforestation projects. And the way we contribute towards food security and sustainability, soil really is the foundation, the basis for our global food systems. And worldwide, there's a huge and increasing problem with land degradation, soil degradation, that comes about mostly through, as a consequence of intensive agriculture, overuse of chemicals, fertilizers, over-tilling, and just the lack of care also for our soils. So we really see ourselves as providing a product that can help to alleviate a lot of those issues, return a lot of nutrition, organic matter to the soils, improve soil structure, improve water retention, and all of that kind of comes together to improve plant performance, plant health, crop yields, improve the success and establishment of trees and plants used in afforestation projects, reducing the need for chemical fertilizers and other inputs, and most importantly, perhaps in this area, reducing the need for water in irrigation. And so, that's really restoring, repairing, regenerating soils is what our goal is, and how we can contribute to improving food security and sustainability. And then another kind of aspect of our business, which a little bit less relevant here, but is the recycling and the diversion of waste from landfills, which comes with huge reductions in CO2 emissions, avoids the pollution of our waterways and soils as well. So that's, it's another huge aspect to our business. So thank you.
As a fellow soil scientist, I salute you, sir.
Great.
And Dr. Michael.
Hello. My name is Michael. I'm the CEO of Mirai Solar and also active at the KAUST Solar Center. It has been a real pleasure. We are a group of solar engineers, so we are trying to really learn from the food sector. So we got interested about, let's say, 2 years ago in greenhouses, also triggered by Red Sea Farms and in particular by Ryan. So we tried to understand how solar energy can benefit food. And so we look at food production primarily from an energy perspective. We really try to understand where is energy used, where could solar energy benefit food production. And so we believe that greenhouses will play a very important role in many parts of the world, to deliver food sustainably. And so by looking at greenhouses, we quickly understood where we could bring in benefit. So we understood that there's need for shade for many crops. And so what the market uses predominantly today is just very simple, I would say old school shade cloth to block the sunlight. So there's no use of the solar energy whatsoever. And so when we looked at this, we thought we can very likely come up with a smart solution for this, where we would still provide shade for the plants, but at the same time harness the solar energy with photovoltaic technology, and this energy can then be used locally to supply energy to the greenhouse, and thereby improve the energy use efficiency of the whole system. So we obviously look at things like, our metric is basically kilowatt hours per kilogram of produce that comes out of the greenhouse, and we obviously try to improve that figure. And so if you would see our let's say our product at the moment that we're developing, still developing and deploying as pilot installations in different parts of the country, you would see a shade screen. It looks like a shade screen. At the same time, it looks like a solar panel. And the beauty of it, it's retractable. And that's important because you want to benefit the plant with as much light as it really needs. But beyond that, you want to use the blocked sunlight to really improve the energy use of your system. And that's what the company is about.
That's fantastic. Thank you, all four of you. Startups bring energy, they bring enthusiasm and new ideas to any sector. And we heard from the giga projects and the corporations before. They really need suppliers like yours to supply them with food and with solutions. So do you have any thoughts on how Saudi Arabia could encourage a more vibrant startup sector? So we might start with you, Dr. Michael. Have you had any thoughts about this, about what Saudi Arabia could do to encourage this sector? Obviously, most of you have had some connection to a university. Are there other things that the kingdom could be doing to encourage this sector?
Obviously, funding always helps. Having a very solid funding platform is always very important, particularly early on. I would say it's a lot driven by the culture. You have to create a culture of entrepreneurship, and I think this is something that KAUST is really very good at. So I came here a few years back, and I haven't seen this entrepreneurial spirit as I've experienced it here at KAUST. So that's I think is very important, and that can be fostered and cultivated in any institution really. So I think that would be very important. And then obviously it's driven by the people, right? But you have to give people the possibility to realize their ideas, and that's usually driven by money and by possibilities.
Thank you very much. Dr. Mitch.
Yeah, I think one of our major barriers to entry as a startup, in particular startup kind of in the business of building infrastructure. So we're talking, $1 million projects, building infrastructure. It's hard, I suppose, to have the credibility as a small startup to be given projects like this. I think, sometimes maybe government could take a little bit more of a risk in terms of giving startups a chance to take on this kind of project. And, it's good for Saudi to be able to build these kind of companies here. They could easily go to a large industrial composting company that's well established around the world, but it wouldn't be kind of contributing to the home economy and skills and talent space. So
there's some procurement policy that could encourage more startups to be created if you said we're in our procurement policies, we're first going to look into Saudi Arabia to see if there's a solution here.
Yeah, the tendering process for these kind of projects is quite restrictive.
Right. Thank you. Dr. Ryan, I'm sure you've got ideas.
I do have ideas. I don't know how they relate to food security, but I'll give you my ideas. So I think building off what Mitch said and just looking at some of the other examples that we've seen globally. So for example, in the US, there's a certain percentage of federal projects that are set aside for small business. And so that opens up the opportunity for a startup or a small business to enter the market. So, that's a potential for, speaking to my Giga-project friends or government friends here, to encourage startups and encourage small businesses to grow, is just to set aside a small percentage for those types of organizations. I think, so I've been in the kingdom now for 9 years, and what I've seen is this just wave of entrepreneurship, especially over the recent 4 years. That's been amazing to watch. And so to be an entrepreneur now is much different than it was 9 years ago. And I would say as Red Sea Farms, we've certainly had the advantage of riding that wave. And that's been very positive. From a pure sort of business energy standpoint, and like what do you spend your day doing, like we want to spend it building the business, I have to say we still spend a lot of time on just administrative tasks that could be easier and that are easier in other parts of the world. I won't pick on too many things, but banking has been a big challenge as a startup. Really? It continues to be a challenge as a startup. So little things like that might not seem obvious. I don't know if my other entrepreneurs can confirm this, but they take a lot of energy and a lot of energy away from our mission, and instead we focus some of that energy on administration.
Thank you. And Majed?
Yeah, I think it's been covered most of the time about money and political issue. But I would like to add more responsibility of the government to be responsible of this startup, to try to adapt them, and to help them for increasing the awareness for what they are doing. Because sometimes we personally in our GrowBioM, when we speak about microbes and biological, people, they don't know. And if it's come from the government, it will be different, because when you have coming from up to down, you make a recommendation, awareness of the people, awareness for the farmer. So it's more about education, to put in the portfolio of the government that we are encouraging the new startup, new job, new ideas. And money is not all the time is complicated, because you can get money. But if you have the good idea and you have the good support from the government, the money, it will not be an issue. Plus all the administration, I agree, it is very complicated.
No one likes administration. Are there any other impediments other than funding and perhaps these administrative issues? Are there any other impediments that you think the Saudi government could help address to help you grow your business faster? Maybe starting with Dr. Mitch first.
Yeah, I think maybe a point we touched upon by the previous panel was skills and labor. So we do find it quite difficult to find skilled labor in the right areas, and kind of echoing maybe, I think, Mr. Ramadan's competition with Meerai for their employees. We also, have difficulty competing with big big government institutions, PIF and things, we simply don't have the resources to offer to be able to capture and retain the high quality employees that we need. And so, that's a constant struggle trying to find and keep the right people. Luckily, we have built a wonderful team at the moment, but we need more to grow more.
Anybody else got ideas, impediments?
I mean, I think everyone has really growing pains. We have growing pains. They can be alleviated for sure. But I would say it's capital is extremely important. If you have capital, then your growing pains go almost away, I would say. Obviously, you need to demonstrate that your technology merits that capital. And so that transition from validating your technology to having really a commercial product, it's difficult. And sometimes I would wish there would be some support for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other impediments, Majid, Ryan? We've covered them all. We might finish on this. What do you think for your business? What do you hope is the biggest contribution going to be to sustainable food security in Saudi Arabia? So just pick one thing for your business.
What will do my business will be do for the contribution?
Contribution to sustainable food security. Just pick one thing.
One thing will be reducing the amount of pesticide and will save the water. Saving water and reducing the pesticide.
Thank you.
I'm going to say three things. Okay, so we have an ESG policy, and so I'm just going to pick two of the things out of there. So one is we've committed to all of our controlled environment agriculture sites being powered by renewable energy by 2027. So having that legacy, as well as low as reasonably possible freshwater use at all of our sites. Then the last piece is we really want, by the quality of the produce that we're delivering into the market, for people to like to eat fresh vegetables, because these have a low water footprint in comparison to a lot of the other foods that you eat, plus a high nutritional content. So if we can help to accelerate that shift in diet because our stuff tastes good, that's a huge win for the planet and for you all as people because of the nutrition.
Thank you.
I would say, aside from directly supporting local agriculture and the improvement of its sustainability, I think I'm quite excited in the opportunity to support the establishment and the execution of the afforestation projects in Saudi Arabia. I think it's really important for that to be carried out in a sustainable way, both economically and environmentally and over time. I'm quite excited to see the repercussions that project can have on food systems more locally, indirectly through ecosystem services, environmental services that could offer.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, from my very personal point of view, obviously, I would wish people start looking at food in terms of energy cost, because that's extremely important, and it's not been happening because Saudi is, in fact, an energy producer. It's very different in other places. We like to position ourselves at the intersection of agriculture and photovoltaics, solar energy production, which is now really becoming a thing. It's called agrivoltaics. And I would hope people would recognize the value of agrivoltaics for a place like Saudi Arabia, and that we can effectively contribute to it in the context of really greenhouses or other systems as well.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Will you please all thank the panel for their presentation this afternoon? Very interesting. Very interesting group of speakers and very interesting group of companies, and good luck for all of you. Okay. Okay, we are getting close to the end of all 3 days. It's been a long 3 days, long day today.